All right, Jacob Cordero here, Voltage Coffee. We're going to be reporting the travel presses. I got Nate with me. Thanks for joining, Nate.
Hey, ready for some coffee?
Yeah, we're going to have quite a bit of work cut out for us between what we're looking at doing here today to put all these through. See if you are going to rely on one of these travel presses. We pretty much dug up every travel press that we could find or that was marketed as a travel press. So this way you can get a good idea of if you're in the market for one of these for camping or whatever it is that you look at wanting to do with one of these guys.
Yeah, this one here says you might take it on a plane. I think that might be going a little too far. Like, oh yes, can I have some boiling water for my travel press here?
Right. So most of these travel presses are all right at the same ballpark as far as price. So price is not really going to be a topic or a conversation of what we're looking at here. They're all about $25 to $30. So you can pretty much expect that that's what you're looking at paying, no matter the size. Some of them are around 12 ounces. I think our biggest one is going to hold 16 ounces, but we'll be measuring those things here and kind of putting them through the test. So, let's just kind of take you through what we've got here.
Okay, this is the Presse by Bobble.
Okay.
Looks like what we've got here is an insulated mug, a cup with a fine filter at the bottom, and a lid. So you put the coffee in, you brew it, you press down like that, and then you pop the lid on, and it'll let you put in sugar and cream if you like that.
Yeah, and I'll be opening this AeroPress Go here, the one that you'll be taking on the plane with you. So we'll see how that one goes.
This is the AmoVee. It looks like about the same idea as the Presse, although it's a slightly different shape and it feels less insulated. You have a filter, you have a chamber. You apply the one to the other, and screw the lid on. So
here we've got the AeroPress Go. This one is going to be a little different than the others. This one's going to come with your filters, and AeroPress also makes the actual. They've got their full version where it doesn't have the travel mug or try to fit together. Yeah, so this one would be a little bit different than like making the standard French press coffee if you're looking at the AeroPress here. Yeah, it's kind of French press but upside down, with the idea that you're going to do something that's kind of the same, except then you're going to press the coffee down into your pot here. Okay, so this one actually has multiple parts, and it has the mug once you're done with that. The Kohipress here looks to be the same style as the Presse and the AmoVee. There it is. Quite the set of instructions. That's good. Yeah, same idea as the other ones. It actually looks almost exactly like the AmoVee, but with a heavier mug that seems a little more insulated. Okay. All right, so now we've got the classic Stanley. This is the classic that everybody's familiar with if you are an outdoors person, go camping and stuff like that. This one's going to likely have the same architecture and build quality as their normal thermoses. Feels about the same. Feels like something you can definitely drop or throw around. I don't know. And so then we have our press here with our instructions packed in there, and so that's a little more open than the other ones. Or the other ones have sort of a solid sides with the frame. That has sort of open sides. So this one I think is going to remain in. Oh yeah, they're all kind of. All right. So yeah. So let's see if that changes anything. Yeah, and of course Stanley's quite known for having a thermos that holds things hot for a good duration of time. So we'll be testing that out too to see how long these things keep things hot, as well as what the coffee tastes like after it's kind of sat in there and kind of just had a chance to hang out. Yeah, I'm a little worried that some of these it's going to taste weird if it sits on the grounds for a while. That can happen with a regular French press, which is why you normally want to get your coffee into a thermos. Right, yeah, because that would be basically like an extra long brew. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so now we have the ESpro. All right, so this one here, just like the other ones, it looks like so far, it's going to have. Oh, okay. This one actually is a little different. Yeah. Yeah, it works more like a conventional French press with the plunger. Yep. So one of my main concerns is that if a lot of these contraptions basically continue to stay in there while you're with your brew, then obviously that limits your space and what you're going to have as far as actual liquid coffee to be drinking on.
Yeah, these really kind of look like 1 cups.
Okay. So
one human-sized cup, 3 or 4 coffee maker-sized cups.
Right. Well, so let's go ahead and get to brewing. I could use some coffee.
I'm ready.
Yeah. save my balls if dropped it. If I dropped this card or something.
I guess they engineered that.
So after trying all these out, we had a chance to brew each one of them, had a chance to play around with them, see how well they worked. So what was it like using these bad boys?
Well, most of them, they use the style where you've got a sort of sleeve thing. You put the coffee in, you fill it with water, you wait like you normally would for a French press, and then press it down. All of these were, reasonably easy to use. They fit really tight, which is good because they're supposed to be for travel, and you don't want your coffee and grounds slopping out. Though it was occasionally a little bit difficult. The toughest part was always figuring out how much water was supposed to go in these because they are really bad about telling you. Coffee makers of America, coffee makers of America, use numbers, ounces, grams. We have ways of figuring this out. I don't want to figure out where your fill line is or how much a rounded scoop of coffee is. We can do better. You can do better. Anyway, once you do that, you pop the lid on and you got some coffee. The ones that are different, the ESpro here used a more plunger, normal French press plunger sort of thing here. It wound up working out pretty much the same sort of way. Then the AeroPress was completely different. You fill that up with finely ground coffee, add hot water for just 10 seconds, and then gradually press that down, and you wind up with something kind of like espresso.
Yeah, so awesome if you really like the idea of having an Americano or just want an espresso, but the goal here was to be kind of like a travel.
Yeah, that was not a travel pot. I keep going back to that picture on there that shows you using it on a plane, and I am imagining you trying to use this stupid thing in a middle seat, and it is not happening.
Yeah, and even you can see in the video where you were trying to press that thing down and the resistance that you were having trouble with, like probably your first 3 attempts pushing it down, and it didn't really release and give you any ability to really kind of get in there until probably your 3rd or 4th attempt pressing it down.
Yeah, I think that's more or less how it's supposed to go. You press until you get resistance, you back off, you keep going until it does its thing, and it eventually did. I think that's just going to be a matter of practice, but it made a pretty good coffee. But all of them produced credible coffee. Then it came time to take them apart and clean them. How did that come out?
So as far as the cleaning goes, they were pretty much all right around the same. I think that when it came to clean, I would say that the Stanley was the easiest to clean, just because it's 1 or 2 parts and that's it. That's it's very basic and simple, which was kind of a nice feature, I think, all the way around for the Stanley. While I believe the
ESpro gave us a little trouble, right?
Yeah, the ESpro was a little bit problematic in that it's attached to its filter cup. So when you pull it out, this thing screws off. So when you pull it out here, you basically have all your coffee that just dumps on you, and it's attached here. So I think that was the hardest of all of them. But all in all, they all just rinse clean with a little water. So there was nothing really, overly hard to report on that.
Yeah, the Kohipress got you too, right?
Oh, you know what? The Kohipress, that's actually a good point. I forgot this one. The Kohipress was a little problematic in that when you go to pull it out or to clean it out, if you still have hot coffee in there, essentially even
if it's just a little bit, it's
and
it's gonna get you.
Yeah, and you won't really know. But as you pull it out, that hot coffee kind of just pours out right on you.
Yeah.
So that wasn't as pleasant because we did actually have hot coffee still left in there.
Yeah.
That we didn't finish off. So that's true. Good point.
Yeah. Now all the ones that are really dark colored made things a little more difficult. because you can't actually see what's going on with the coffee.
Right.
It was easier to deal with the ones like the Presse or the Stanley that were light colored and you could actually see what was going on.
Yeah, that's true. And so, like, we talked about the AeroPress being a little bit tough for traveling.
Yeah.
So what about travel on the rest of these guys? I mean, is that really even a thing, or are these, you know, like, if you get it for specifically wanting to travel, can you rely on these things to do that with you?
Some of them, yeah. So the ESpro here, really no good for travel. That's the mouth of what you've got to drink out of, and that's really no good at all. The Presse was really easy to use, but it has just this little rubber lid here, and I would not trust this to protect my lap in case of a spill. And then even worse, when trying to actually drink from this, it doesn't work at all. You have to hold back the little rubber cover with your nose while you try to drink from this, and then discover that the rubber cover is actually blocking the vent hole so you can't get any coffee out.
Yeah, and I think also with that rubber lid, it's not conducive to the coffee flavor.
Yeah.
So we found that
it tasted better when it was poured out into another glass than drinking through the lid.
Yeah.
Although, give this 5 or 6 washes and maybe it gets a little better.
Yeah.
But I would have preferred a hard plastic lid. The other 3 here, the Stanley, the AmoVee, and the Kohipress, all did very well as coffee, as travel mugs. They make a nice solid seal up at the top. They're easy to drink from, and they'll keep your coffee warm, with the exception of the AmoVee, which really cooled off really fast. This one doesn't feel that insulated, and it dropped a solid 40 degrees over the course of half an hour.
Now, when we were drinking out of these, what about differences in flavor? Like, is there, like a big difference either way in any of these?
Not that big a difference.
Okay.
Most of them were pretty similar. The only really notable ones, the AeroPress tasted different than everything else because it was playing a different game.
Sure.
So it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. The Presse here was really bland. And I don't really know why. I mean, that filter is no finer than anything else, but we found the flavor really, I don't know, just uninspiring.
Yeah.
The AmoVee probably had the best flavor of the sort of regular bunch.
Yeah. And as far as these, like, if you wanted to keep something hot in them outside of coffee, what would you say was the best insulated based on our metrics and
Let's see, our
testing?
best insulated by testing was the ESpro,
Okay.
but that was 2 degrees hotter than the Stanley, which I would say has the much better lid, so I would be more inclined to trust the Stanley just as a basic thermos, just by popping out that the little brewer there,
Yeah.
and just use that for pretty much anything. So how do they stack up overall? Which one of these do you actually want?
First of all, I think overall, when it comes to these things, I think they have really one job, right? You're getting this because you want something you can travel with, you want something you can take camping with you, you want it on the go. The biggest surprise for me, I think, before kind of getting into the overall, was the fact that how many of them don't get it right.
Yeah.
Like, if this is really like all you want is to travel, why would you have a lid that's like this, right? Like a lid that's rubber, a lid that you can't really necessarily drink out of.
Yes.
When it comes to the Kohipress, like, it seemed like it was pretty much winning all the way around with everything that we did with it, except for the fact that it tells you 16 ounces.
Yeah.
And so when you put 16 ounces in there and try to push it down, you end up with coffee everywhere. So
that was the worst.
Last thing I want if I'm taking this thing out, in an environment that's, like my desk or office or something like that, right? So that's a little bit problematic. So I think overall, I would say that the Kohipress was the best to drink out of. It kept the flavor. The flavor, as far as
the flavor was fine.
Fine, yeah. And we tried all of these after about half hour and came back and tasted them to make sure that the brew didn't get too bitter, if you had it in there, and all of them.
Yeah, these do have this sort of impressive seal feature.
Right.
Unlike a normal French press, there's sort of a spring-loaded button that kind of locks off the bottom. So where a normal French press, the coffee is going to be tasting weird after a while because it just stays on the grounds.
Yeah, you're continuing to brew.
This seals it off, so it's not brewing anymore.
Yeah. So I think I would say that overall the Stanley solid, especially as far as the design goes. You're going to get something that's going to last. The lid seals the best. So if you're traveling, plus you have, like if you want to hang it off a backpack or you're hiking or something, and if you pull out, the press part itself, it's got a pretty good amount of space for you to put anything else in that you might want. So that's an ideal travel, and it performed just as well as the rest. And then our Kohipress. So those are our two winners that we would take away. The problem with the ESpro was it really performed well in keeping the coffee hot. It probably had the best flavor if I were to make a judgment call between, like flavor-wise on all these. But really, it's the problem with the lid. Like, it gets almost everything right. Keeps the coffee warm. Did a really good job. But then it's like you have to drink out of this lid where when you throw it back to take a drink, it basically splashes coffee all over your lips.
Yeah.
So that's not really ideal. And as a matter of fact, it would kind of upset me if my coffee on my way to work is just splashing me in the face. So as far as the pleasant drinking mouthpiece, the Kohipress is definitely probably got a little edge, while the Stanley was good enough. It's got the nice lip part, and really designed for travel, so they really thought that one through. And then the AmoVee, this thing just really was designed well, but it just didn't insulate very well.
It was good coffee, but you got half an hour to drink it before it gets too cold.
Yeah, it's too bad.
Yeah, so let's call it the Stanley for camping and the Kohipress for the office.
Yeah. All right, so that's it for Voltage Coffee on the travel presses and travel mugs. I'm Jacob, this is Nate, and if you like the video, subscribe, like, all that good stuff, and tune in next time for our next review.
All right, next coffee adventure.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Boy, I hope that's it.
Okay.